changes. You are a courier, hired by the Mojave Express to deliver a package to the New Vegas Strip. What seemed like a simple delivery job has taken a turn for the worse.
You got what you were after, so pay up.
You're crying in the rain, Pally.
Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. But I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Hello YouTube, viewers, subscribers. Today I'm going to be talking about Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas holds a very near and dear spot for me in the pantheon of gaming greats. Many people hold New Vegas in high regard, and if you've played New Vegas, it's easy to tell why. Bethesda gave Obsidian 18 months to release Fallout New Vegas, notably a very short period to make magic happen. And that's exactly what they did. My first playthrough of New Vegas, I was too young to appreciate just how great of a game it was. I didn't even end up finishing it because it just felt kind of difficult. At the time, it was a little scary to me for some reason. Like, I was 14. I forget I said that, people. I wasn't scared of Fallout New Vegas when I was 14. I was just disinterested. All right. But it wasn't until 2022 that I dove back into the Mojave Wasteland and experienced the game for what it was. So, a little background here. I had the unfortunate luck of having been jumped while I was out drinking one night, and the bouncer of the bar proceeded to throw me out, instead of helping me, making sure I was all right. So I ended up going home, whatever, it was a whole ordeal, but whatever, you sleep it off, you subsequently start to feel better, and then kind of like, I started to play New Vegas to lick my wounds. Now this must have been fate, because the story of the courier was one that matched what I had been feeling and, what I had been through. I wasn't shot in the head or anything, but it was fair to say that me and the courier were left for dead. I connected in that and really embodied the role and responsibilities of the courier in the Mojave. I believe the genius of Fallout New Vegas stems from the people who developed New Vegas, that of course being Obsidian, and the level of depth that they put into the story and the factions vying for power in the Mojave Wasteland. It's exactly why Fallout New Vegas is regarded as one of the best installments of the Fallout series, and a gaming great all on its own. The greatest sense of freedom comes from the way in which our character is developed. We're double-crossed and left for dead, and we're seeking revenge. But revenge is only a piece of the puzzle. There's a much bigger play at hand, and we quickly start to figure out what exactly is going on once we make it to New Vegas. The game starts you out in Good Springs, because you were killed in Good Springs. You're saved by a Securitron named Victor, and patched back up by Dr. Mitchell. Doc Mitchell has you seek out Sunny Smiles, and she gives you tips on how to survive in the wasteland. And she gives you your first gun. You make your first important decision in Good Springs. A group of powder gangers roll into town looking for someone named Ringo. They stroll into the saloon and essentially threaten the town if they don't give up Ringo. So you get to decide what exactly it is you want to do. You can convince the town, well, Sunny Smiles is in from the start. You've got to convince some of the other people to help or give supplies. You help protect the town from the powder gangers, or you can fight along with the powder gangers. I usually side with the town of Good Springs as they nursed me back. I always side with Good Springs, honestly, as they nursed me back to health. And although I'm all for a prison break, there was no coherent ideology behind the powder gangers. They were just a bunch of escaped cons with dynamite. Further, if you wander towards the prison before the showdown in Good Springs, you can do a quest line for their leader and gain some favor before you inevitably kill some of his men. Once you move on from Good Springs, the game has an informal, semi-formal chartered course. You proceed south to Prim and do a U-shape down and around the Mojave to get to New Vegas. You can take the fast route to New Vegas, but you will get wrecked. You'll encounter death claws and cazadors, and it's just smart to follow the path that's been laid out. On your way down and around, you'll encounter both the NCR and Caesar's Legion. The NCR is the New California Republic, essentially an Imperial California. A sluggish, bureaucratic mess with an army that is stretched thin, and they're struggling to maintain control over their interests in the region being the Mojave. And Caesar's Legion is a group of Roman LARPers who are decent fighters and have large numbers, but is just a society of they just go around conquering and enslaving people, and there's not much beyond that. So, the Legion had attacked and killed almost everybody in this town called Nipton. It's in California, so you encounter Nipton on your way down and around. It was essentially a small pit stop of a town that provided vice for those who stopped by, and that's in large part why Vulpus Inculta, the Legion leader in Nipton, decided to establish a brutal lottery system that some people survived, some people were left disabled, and most people were crucified. You encounter this one guy who is coming out wailing yeah, I won the lottery. And then you just kind of ask him a set of questions, and you come to find out that he was one of the lucky people who got to survive. So, it's kind of a very notable moment in the game. They had crossed into California, which meant they were gaining a lot of ground. And, that's on the heels of the first battle of Hoover Dam. And this game, what it's doing is essentially setting up the second battle of the Hoover Dam. So Vulpus Inculta wants you to go spread the message to people, meaning the NCR. And so you're tasked with relaying that message to the Ranger outpost up in the corner of the map. If you want, you don't have to. You can keep on moving to the Strip if you don't feel like warning the NCR. But you go that way, you do a favor or two, you get some supplies that went missing, and then you head about your merry way. So a lot happens between Good Springs and you finally making your way into the Strip. The factions vying for power become clearer, and once we get to the Strip, the whole power struggle comes full circle. Along the way, we made some friends like Boone, and generally, I seem to be friendly with the NCR. I negotiated a deal with them and the cons. We also landed by the Crimson Caravan, and we met up with Ringo, where he kind of thanked us further for the whole Good Springs fiasco. So Ringo worked for the Crimson Caravan, and then you do some shady favors for the owner of that Crimson Caravan. Her name is Alice McClaffery. So that's a whole thing. And then at Freeside, you get acquainted with the Kings, who for some reason worship Elvis Presley. There's a whole backstory to that. And, since I was cool with the Kings, Mick and Ralph got me a fake passport to the Strip for 5,000 caps. Or the alternative is 2,000 caps. So when we get to the Strip, we encounter what is arguably one of the most iconic characters, not just of New Vegas, but of all of Fallout. Mr. House and his Lucky 38. House is the third faction. He's a faction because he has an army of Securitrons that help him maintain his seat. He was a tech billionaire of sorts before the bombs dropped, and after he had established a mafia-style control over the Strip. There were 3 families that ran casinos, and he was the boss of them. He sort of allowed them to operate as they do, The most important part of the story up to this point has been your pursuit of the Platinum Chip. It's what set your path. It's why you got shot. It's why you're retracing Benny's steps. It's for the chip. Benny was the leader of one of the Strip families, the chairman. So he knew about the Platinum Chip and what it did. And he had programmed a Securitron to be his accomplice. That's Yes Man, who you'll meet. And essentially, Benny wanted to rule New Vegas for himself. And that's why he tried to kill the courier, so he could get into power. Upon reaching the Strip, you find out the significance of the Platinum Chip. The Platinum Chip has a software that would upgrade all of House's Securitrons and make his army that much more powerful, securing his control over New Vegas. You can deal with Benny in 2 ways, right? You can kill him at the Tops, or he escapes the Tops casino and you end up finding him prisoner at the Legion's, is it Cottonwood Cove, I believe? You either get him now or later. It's really not of much consequence. You can't save Benny and have him be the leader of New Vegas. I don't know, or maybe there's an extreme option, but I doubt it. It's not really written into it that way. But if someone out there has done it, like, I don't want to feel like I said something wrong. So with Benny out of the way, you can forge a path forward for the Mojave. And although there are 4 main choices, those choices break down further with smaller factions. So the Brotherhood of Steel makes an appearance here in the Mojave, and they're weakened and hiding because of incursions that they had with the NCR at Helios 1. House wants them dead. The NCR would rather not deal with them. I'm pretty sure either Caesar doesn't care, or he probably wants them dead, or doesn't care, but either way. You can join the Brotherhood of Steel if you want. Obviously, you can spare them, you know, as you remember. You know, there's possibilities there. The Great Khans, they're tribal raiders that were on the brink of extinction and ended up being relegated to Red Rock Canyon. And, you know, massacre at Bitter Springs is a whole thing in the story. And essentially, you can side with the Khans in a sense where, like, they're not being bullied by anyone. So the NCR was bullying them. Caesar's Legion wants them to join, but Caesar's Legion turns everyone into slaves. So the best path forward for the Khans is for you to sort of emancipate them, you know, sort of. And then the Boomers, they're isolationists with the ability to aerially bombard anyone who encroaches on their territory. So although the Boomers are low-key, like, they're a fascist faction one way or another, and, you know, I help them, so they help me. And it's kind of like you know, I don't get in your way, you don't get in my way. And then the Followers of the Apocalypse, they're a humanitarian group that focus on providing education and medical services to those in need. You see them play a big role in Freeside, right, which is the area right outside of the Strip. I helped them whenever I could, as helping get people around Freeside off drugs and working out a deal for supplies with the folks over at the Atomic Wrangler. I personally wish there was an option to give control of New Vegas over to the Followers of the Apocalypse. They're certainly the most progressive of all the factions in the game. They just lack an army to implement the things that they do on a larger scale. As the courier, I'd tip the scale and give the Followers of the Apocalypse the muscle they need to create a more just New Vegas. You have 4 options for the future of New Vegas. In the Mojave, you can side with the NCR and help them, you know, wrangle in the Hoover Dam so they can keep powering up their home base in California. You can side with Caesar and his legion of conquerors and slavers, or you can side with House and keep the Strip of the Jewel of the Mojave up and running. Or you can choose an independent New Vegas and power up Yes Man to do your bidding. I opted for an independent New Vegas as I felt that it aligned best with my political views relative to what the other leaders were. But even the independent option has flaws, as it seems a power vacuum is created since the courier doesn't take on an active role in the future of the Mojave. The game kind of pushes you towards the NCR because the sheer number of quests that they have, and, you know. But it's the belief of many that the House always wins, is the canon ending, and that Mr. House does end up on top. So, you know, all good options. I personally never side with Caesar's Legion. They're explicitly brutal, and their society offers no true vision for the future. Not to mention Edward Sallow, aka Caesar himself, used to be a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse. So, you know, he's a traitor, and his death is warranted, however that may come to pass. I usually piss off the Legion early on, and it usually becomes on site with the Legionnaires. So getting into shootouts with them is a very lucrative endeavor once you have the combat rifle and enough stim packs. You can clear a good number of caps selling their armor and guns to the gunrunners or any merchant that will take it. So the game doesn't look amazing. It's running on an engine from 2008, but with some mods you can get it to a respectable place. I personally couldn't fully figure out the mods, so I have glowing bodies of water, and every NPC is bald. Yeah, they're bald. So whatever, I got my mods to this point and the game doesn't crash. And when I got the game, it just wasn't running at all. It would crash after the intro sequence every time. So I tried to add all these mods to stabilize it, and I pretty much tried to do Viva New Vegas to the best of my ability and got to where I got to, and just kind of said, all right, this is good enough for me. So, you know, it's essentially Fallout 3 with a better story. And there's improvements, obviously. It's a game that came out 2 years later, so like, of course, there's gonna be certain graphical improvements of sorts, or maybe, you know, the heads-up display and all that, user interface. But this game has come a long way, and the community is very active, and honestly, I understand why. I technically wasn't this big of a fan until about 2022. Further, I feel Bethesda has had 3 tries at getting a compelling Fallout story, and they've fallen short. Fallout 3 was good for the time. Fallout 4 was also good for the time, with the caveat of its story not being great. Fallout 76 was just bad. And even with time, it's grown in popularity because of the Fallout series, but it's still not good. It's okay. I was playing it for a little bit, but it's not what we want. 3 and 4 haven't exactly withstood the test of time. 4 improved gameplay and shooting mechanics, but again, that story was just not great. Obsidian and Folon had a crack each, and they've made good stories. New Vegas has stood the test of time and has even caused ripples amongst those who believe New Vegas is the best Fallout and those who don't. But the impact of New Vegas is undeniable, as we see it tie into the Fallout series. I am a New Vegas guy, and it seems I'm also a London guy. The factions in Fallout 4 are just bad, and I personally don't feel the game is as compelling as New Vegas and now London. I kind of hated Starfield and the space colonizer angle. I played a good week non-stop, and like I was really into it, and then I realized just how kind of repetitive and grindy it was and how bad the writing actually was. Bethesda should understand that, and it should incorporate more minds from projects that have delivered good, fleshed out storylines. I refer to New Vegas as the gold standard because from a storytelling perspective, it is the gold standard. Bethesda is still upset that they were outshined and have refused to dip back into the pot of gold that is Obsidian. So now we await Fallout 5, but I won't hold my breath, because even when we get Fallout 5, maybe the story just won't be that good. And even then, maybe we just won't get Fallout 5, and we'll just have to wait on the next mod. I doubt that. Fallout 5 is going to be a gold mine. But like I said, if this story doesn't improve, then we're really just, you know, drifting away from what sells a bunch of people. And I get it, you know, with where the gaming industry is, who cares about those people? It's more so about whatever. And I don't want to just come across as a Bethesda hater. I understand that they've done a decent job with the series, and they're trailblazers with Elder Scrolls. I get that. But I personally want a Fallout game with a good, fleshed out storyline and factions. Not the Minutemen, or the Fascist Brotherhood of Steel, or even the freaking Railroad. But I can forgive the crappy factions, but I will never forgive the kidnapped son is the actual leader of the Institute. Go back to the rough draft and fix it, or let someone else write your story for you, because we're all counting on this next game being good, and it probably will be. And I'm definitely gonna play it, and a bunch of people are gonna play it, but hopefully we're all raving about how good it is, down to the story. Well, all right, everyone, that's about all I've got for today. Please like and subscribe and share this far and wide. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.